All right, so I have my history notebook right here. We have seen this. We did our cover page. We made sure that we had our unit page, our passport that we definitely can start filling out in there, and then our reasons to explore and colonize. If you were in the A group, you would also have your map that we did last Wednesday in there. You'd have your map in there. It's probably drawn in there. I had mine on paper and glued it in. Make sure you have it in there. And then, of course, my timeline if I am in the A group. My B group people, you will be getting to do this this week. So don't worry, you are not left out. But I'm going to go to the next blank page right here. I'm going to go ahead on this blank page and I'm going to turn myself sideways. Just like this. Turn, 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 turn. Get all the way in the camera. There we go. I'm going to turn myself sideways, and we're going to review just a few things from last week to make sure that it gets put into our notebook. We learned 3 big things last week. We learned, number 1, the Northwest Passage. Number 2, we were able to talk about the Columbian Exchange. And number 3, we talked about that relationship that those European countries had with the Native Americans. So we're going to get that put into here. And so on this page, what we need to be able to talk about first is the fact that there was an old world, and we're going to go ahead and draw an eye, a nose, and a chin. There's my old world. When I say old world, I am specifically talking about England, which is in the continent of Europe. And I call Europe the nose because Spain and France are nosy about what's going on. And then the chin, of course, being Africa, holding up the economy. And so last week, we talked about Columbus sailing across the ocean. Of course, where is he trying to go? He wants to get to Asia for the golds, silks, and spices. So we're going to draw our economic reasons right there. On this map, here we go, we're going to say 1492, Columbus sails the ocean blue. And so Columbus is trying to sail west in 1492. He's going across the Atlantic Ocean. Does he make it there? No. Instead, he lands in the New World. In our New World, right here that we drew real quick, mine kind of looks like a whale. Like, you know, here's the tail of the whale, here's its face, and you got its little fins down there. I think mine looks a little bit like a whale. If I stuck an eyeball right there in a mouth, you would definitely see a whale. So here is my New World that in 1492 Columbus ends up landing in. And so what we need to recognize within this is we need to recognize a few things. Number 1 is that just because they landed in the New World doesn't mean they weren't still trying to make it to Asia. So, what did they instead want to do? They wanted to find a Northwest Passage. So we're going to go ahead and draw that line in. And you guys last week were able to learn all about the Franklin expedition and the journey that they went on. And so we know that in the end, this Northwest Passage, for 300 years they searched for it, but there is not one. And so we're going to go ahead and cross it out. Now, just because they didn't find a Northwest Passage doesn't mean that this New World was a bust. There are some good things and some not so good things that came out of it. But what we do need to look at is we need to look at how things were traded between the Old World and New World. We call this trade the Columbian Exchange. And in the Columbian Exchange, it is trade between the Old World, which is my Europe and Asia, and the New World, which is, of course, my Americas right there. So the Columbian Exchange, trade between the Old World and the New World. So we're going to go ahead and write that right in there. And then let's real quick talk about the Columbian Exchange. Let's think about it. In the Columbian Exchange, we have some good things happening. So I'm going to put a little heart right there to say, hey, this is good. I'm going to say, you know, they trade products. We're going to get more things from each other. And so more things, more products, more goods. You're able to have more. You're able to have pizza and good food. But of course, with everything that is good always comes the bad. And so that trade network also caused the trade of diseases, and how over 80%, maybe even 90%, there's some estimates that say 95% of the Native American population perished because of the smallpox that came into the New World. Those that lived there were not immune to it, as those in Europe had built up those immunities from earlier. So those diseases caused devastation amongst the Native Americans. We're also going to see this land being taken away. You know, we talk about Columbus and how great it is that we founded America, and sometimes we forget, you know, there's people that were there. And there's people that this was their land, and this was their family, and this has been in their, you know, a part of them for centuries upon centuries. And that land is now gone because it has been conquered by our big three countries. And so on this page right here, so we talked about the Northwest Passage and the Columbian Exchange. I'm going to go right up to the top and give it those titles. Northwest Passage and Columbian Exchange. Now, we are not done because we did talk about one other thing last week, and that was the relationship of our Native Americans with our European countries. So we're going to turn one more page right here, and I'm going to actually turn my paper, my notebook, to go correct. So here we go. Here's my notebook. I'm trying to make sure I get it right into the screen. It's a little hard because it's a little bit off by the camera, a little funny looking into it, but we will get it. So here we go. We're going to title this page, European Treatment of Native Americans. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, Miss Howson, why are you making me write all this? Guys, writing stuff helps you remember stuff. And so we're actually going to write on this page, and you're going to draw a little bit, and you are going to submit that into me. And so we're going to talk about the European treatment of Native Americans, but what we do need to recognize first is, where did those Europeans go? So I'm going to go ahead right here, and I'm going to draw my map real quick. You guys got to draw it too. If yours looks like a whale, just like mine, awesome. All right, so here is my country. It doesn't have to be very big. What I need to recognize and be able to label is, here's my Atlantic Ocean. Here is my Appalachian Mountains. Here's my Mississippi River. And over here is my Pacific Ocean. What I need to label on here is I need to go, okay, where do my Spanish go? My Spanish are going to go to the south and to the west. So they're going to kind of come down into this area right here. Here's my Spanish. And then I'm going to talk about my French, and where is it that my French go? Parlez-vous français? My French are going to come near the Mississippi River. Here is my French, kind of right in the center. Here's my French coming into this area. And then my English, I'm going to go ahead and put my English on the map. And my English are going to come right here on the East Coast. So there's my E for English. So I have my Spanish, my French, and my English. And what we need to be able to recognize is how do each of those groups treat the Native Americans that they come in contact with. And we're going to first start with our Spanish, and you guys last week were asked to create some alliteration poems after you looked at the primary sources. This alliteration helps you remember the treatment they had with those Native Americans. So we are going to, for our Spanish, we are going to say the selfish Spanish enslaved natives. The selfish Spanish enslaved natives. Why do we say the selfish Spanish enslaved natives? Well, they were there for the money. You guys were able to read and you saw those pictures and you saw what they did. And you saw how in the beginning that relationship they had with the natives was not a good one at all. What I want you to do right next to it is I want you to create a picture that would represent that relationship right there. You're going to draw a picture right next to it. This is what's going to get submitted to Miss Howson for a grade. All right, the next one is the French. French were very different. I read some really good alliteration. We are going to say the friendly French fur traders because they were there for the furs. So the friendly French fur traders. That's what we're going to write down. And then right next to it, we'll go ahead right here and create a drawing for me right in there to represent that relationship that you saw between the French and the natives. All right, I'm going to move down just a little bit. My last group is going to be the English. The English were kind of in between the Spanish and the French. They weren't as mean, but they weren't as nice as the French were. I'm going to see if I can maybe zoom a little bit better so it becomes a little bit clearer. I think that's a little bit better for you. Okay, and that's an English, English. And so we're going to say the economic English because they were all about the money, right? The economic English exiled natives. They wanted to move them. Exiled means to move out, to send them out. So the economic English exiled natives. And so right there next to it, you're going to go ahead, and it doesn't have to be a detailed picture. It can be stick figures, but go ahead and give me a drawing to represent the economic English exiled natives. After you finish these 3 pictures, you make sure you have all these notes right here. I want you to take a picture, and you are going to submit this into Schoology for me. Just this page right here, but I better make sure that I see those pictures in there.